Ladies and gentlemen, listen, man. Burkina Faso, under the governance of Captain Ibrahim Traore, they are doing something right now, and I need to talk about it. These guys are moving potentially from a military, should I say a counter-terrorism special operation, because it's not like a full-scale war. They are going to a whole new level now. They call this the agro-pastoral offensive initiative. I don't know why Burkina Faso continues to use offensive in everything they do. It's always offensive. But based on the shipments we are now seeing now, according to the information we had from reliable sources, our sources is so reliable, they said Burkina Faso is going to be pausing its military acquisition, like military armaments of all grades. But they said, with the exception of the Turkish aerial unmanned vehicles, that the Burkina Faso doesn't have any intention. Like, they are waiting for the latest, product of that. Is it Baraktar something UAV? They still want to get the latest edition, right? Look. Ibrahim Traore is cut from a different lineage, bro. It's not even cut from a different. It's cut from a different type of gold. Because now they call this move the agro-pastoral offensive initiative. Now we see a new set of equipment that have already landed in Burkina Faso through the coast of Guinea.
Bili. Wallahi. Mon pas femme for il de. Ge. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Ha. Burkin bila. Daira tarako. Wallahi bata tek menga. Talan kyana ta kilo ko bola zaka. Ha yiwe tere. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Ici même on a fait ça en deux lignes. Oh! Il faut ton man for one moha. Hein? Furatam ya ton man for one moha. Mo fa ya. We zen serzin zalme. Tum na pa me. Tengana men king tower. Allahu Akbar. Wallahi wana yawte sekive. Wallahi bilgir rate di nyaba sama bilgir ko. Zinkanga batam bilge. Fam bilge wate mpo ya. Voilà, ate di nyaba sama bilgiri. Nyaba sama bilgiri ka. Voilà, fanya foni fanya. Patate ke antalente mbamba hoto. Allahu Akbar. Oh. Burkimbila. Bioko menglantar kamera. Allahu Akbar. Ke camera.
Most of the Burkina Faso, military acquisition, economic acquisition when it comes to the agriculture now comes through the port of Guinea, or sometimes it comes through the Tema port of Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, look at this equipment, all agro-pastoral offensive tools. Now, we've seen the Faso Mebo project. I'm talking about the people in Bobo de la Soul. Look, I have to give my respect to the people of Bobo de la Soul in Burkina Faso. You guys' mindset is just completely different. Both the young ones and the OGs in Bobo de la Soul, their thinking is next level. Everybody in Bobo de la Soul is Pan-Africanist. I don't want to hear nothing more, right? These people are wholeheartedly committed when it comes to agriculture, when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes, like, Bobo de la Soul is on a whole new level. Now, according to the information we have, this particular equipment, group of equipment, they call it the first batch. Now they say they're going to have about 20 something different batch for the different states in Burkina Faso. Now, this equipment is not going to Bobo de la Soul. This equipment is not going to Ouagadougou. Ouagadougou is something different entirely. Ouagadougou has turned from a place where, when back in the days when we don't even call it Ouagadougou, it is recently that we learned to call the normal pronunciation as Ouagadougou. Before we call it Ouagadougou. Now, when we call you a citizen of Burkina Faso before, or we say you are from Ouagadougou, we are abusing you from my own country. You see, you look like somebody from Ouagadougou. We are saying that you look like somebody that's coming from the deepest trench of poverty in Africa. But this is a place now that is disrespectfully relegating Nigeria as a country. Let me tell you the truth. The value of Burkina Faso's currency, CFA franc, is actually, way ahead of the Nigerian currency right now. And when you look at what is going on in Burkina Faso, the projected economic growth in the next 5 years is going to be far ahead of Nigeria. No Nigeria can dispute that. Nobody in the whole wide world, I don't care what your economic orientation is, you can't dispute it based on the leadership and how everything is going now. Burkina Faso is not just going on an agro-pastoral offensive initiative, they are arming themselves economically. This is beyond sovereignty at this point. It is harming yourself. Now let's go back. In Ouagadougou, you are talking about the smart Burkina and all of the rest. Burkina is so advanced right now. Ouagadougou, every nooks and cranny, you have cameras. Now they're taking that to Bobo Dioulasso. And they said they want to be moving it gradually from state to state. These equipment are going to be going to another state in Burkina Faso. They've not disclosed the state, but they said it's not Bobo Dioulasso and it's not Ouagadougou, because they've already harmed Bobo Dioulasso and Ouagadougou. When it comes to sovereignty, these states are 100% complete. Ladies and gentlemen, even last year alone, look at the growth, the GDP in Burkina Faso. Look at the poverty decline. Look at how inflation fell. A lot of people have come up with this talk of, if Burkina Faso finally gets its sovereignty, won't they end up like Zimbabwe? Listen up, listen up. Burkina Faso has already decentralized exports from being from boosting their economy with gold exports to now being one of the leading agricultural producers in Africa. Look at the profit they made from agriculture alone and how much it's boosted their economy. Now they've now invested triple the price. Now they didn't just invest this money in seeds and every other thing. They invested it in the main agricultural equipment. They did not harm themselves to this level. Last year, they were not even going into some level of manufacturing. They were still selling some raw material. But this year, they closed all channels on raw materials. They are going for total manufacturing this year. This is how you harness the demography of your country. A lot of people think population is a problem. My opinion, I don't believe population is a problem, and it will never be a problem. Now, the populace of Burkina Faso has something to do. This equipment going into that state, which is still undisclosed, is a whole new level of employment going to that state, and it's going to affect the market economy of that very state and relatively affect the economy of the country itself. Now you have indigenous Burkina people contributing heavily to the Faso Mebu project. Now you have indigenous Burkina Faso youth mining. Even though I saw someone that was mining manually and they gave him a mining license, he has some group of guys that are working with him. They will have an internal board that they can sell the goods to and refine, and they pay them. It is their lands. Now, if you mine in Burkina Faso, you have to build schools, you have to take care of the environment. Vladimir Putin said something, and this thing did not really travel too far in the mainstream media. He said, very soon we might see a colony of a colonial power become economically greater than the colonial power. When he said that statement, he was actually talking about Niger Republic, not even Burkina Faso or Mali. We already know that with the way things are going, if you leave these guys in power for the next 20 years, man, look, These guys will eclipse, they will be far ahead of a lot of African countries. Period. Matter of fact. And when you talk about a country in Africa presently where the rule of law is being respected, I'm talking about the right of the civilian. You're talking about this AES states. Your rights is being respected in the AES state. Not in my country where a policeman stops you and the only thing the policeman wants to achieve is to force you to bribe him. And when you don't bribe, you know, whatever happened the next minute is not something you can predict. Now look at this. The government is enabling the citizen to harness their potential. Do you think this type of country will permit GMO? Do you think? And now I'm beginning to think this whole idea of GMO can somehow in Nigeria is somehow related to terrorism. Why are the farmers being killed? No, somebody should give me a logical explanation as to why the farmers are being killed. Majorly, mass murdering of the farmers. And just as you are having, it's like, okay, this episode is genocide of the farmers, and the next now farmers no longer plant. Now we are now importing majorly, most of our agricultural products. Now you are now having introduction of GMO. Now they are not trying to enforce the GMO. But for those that can understand, it's out there for you to understand. And if you talk about GMO, every time you make mention of GMO, they will make sure the information don't fly. You know the people that are responsible for that. Bill Gates, Rockefellers, even involved in the whole GMO thing. You have Rockefeller with Bill Gates. I mean, they know Africa has a large population and Africa consumes a lot of food. And if you invest, but what they're trying to do now is to weaponize agriculture in Africa, which is very, very dark. But with the way Burkina Faso is moving, to be honest with you, this whole thing of Burkina must feed itself, ladies and gentlemen, is no longer a prediction. To me, they will probably feed themselves and even export. And maybe in 3, 4 years, they will become an agricultural superpower in Africa. Because the plan of Ibrahim Traore is to move agricultural infrastructure to every state in Burkina Faso. Now, why are they going into this agro-pastoral offensive initiative? Because Burkina has boots on the ground in every territory. In every location in its territory, it has boots on the ground. So, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? In my own opinion, I won't lie, among the democratic, political office holders in Africa, the name Ibrahim Traore should be the most hated word right now. Because this guy is not only fantastic, this guy is exposing them in a very embarrassing fashion. Give us your opinion in the comment section below. It's your boy 7200 signing out, enough said. But before I go,